Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome in to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. I'm Mark Elliott. Rick, of course, a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years experience in the financial industry. And this show is about, obviously, the fun side, the great side of retirement, but it also will touch on times on the challenging side of retirement. So where are you on that road to retirement? Can I retire? Well, when can I retire? Do I have enough? Will my money last as long as I need it to? Will my loved ones be okay if something happens to me? Really, at the end of the day, you want to know, will I or will we be okay when we retire? That's what we really want to know. You want to learn more about Rick and the team at Safeguard, you can always go to the website, safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. You can always give them a call. There's no cost to chat with them. 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. Rick, you ready to go today?
Yeah, let's do it, Mark.
All right, so back in the 80s, were you a wizard with the Rubik's Cube?
I tried. I take that thing apart and then put it back together again.
Could you get one side, two sides, three sides? How could you do it?
The most I'd get is two sides.
Wow. I don't think I ever got more than one. Yeah. So we're going to talk today about, and so start with the Rubik's Cube, because that's kind of the mentality we're going with today, is that there are so many moving parts when it comes to preparing for your retirement. So like questions like, hey, when should I take Social Security? Hey, I'm married, so when should we take Social Security? Is there a right time or wrong time? And there really is a right time for you. It doesn't mean 62 is right or wrong, or 66 is right or wrong, or 70 is right or wrong, but you do have a time when probably it makes the most sense for you to take Social Security. Anywhere between that, 62 to 70-year age, but it's about you. And so you don't look at Social Security in a vacuum, because we know at 70 we get the most money, and at 62 we get the least money, but we might need it at 62. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of maybe not as easy to make those decisions just on the cover of it, the top layer. You got to dig a little deeper. What about if you accidentally trigger higher taxes by moving money in the wrong way than you should have? So there's a lot of moving parts here. Rick, could you see the correlation between a Rubik's Cube and retirement planning?
1,000%. 1,000%. And I'm glad you brought that up, because so many times I have people that will tell me that they want to wait to a later age in order to get Social Security because the amount is just going to be larger. And on the surface, that sounds great. Why not wait till, you get a larger amount? The challenge is that if, like you said, if we're looking at things in a vacuum, it may cause you a bigger pain later on. I'll give you an example. So many times I have people say, oh yeah, I talked to, this advisor and he just said, hey, take it later on because, you'll get more money. If you wait, let's just say, for example, from 62 to, 66, you'll get an extra $500 a month. And with inflation increasing, you should always, get the larger amount. When I look at the numbers, let's assume someone is now saying, okay, great, I'm going to now start pulling money out of my IRA or my retirement account in order to wait to get to that later age in order to get more out of my Social Security. What many people don't realize that Social Security is actually taxed more efficiently than your IRA or 401k. So now what's happening is, let's say they're foregoing, let's say between age 62 to age 66, they decide not to get any Social Security payments so they can get an extra $500 a month. And then, so basically what they're going to do is, let's say they're going to forego $100,000, whatever the number is. That means I got to pull $100,000 out of my IRA or 401ks during that period of time, potentially. 100% of that money is reportable on my tax return, and I'm spending my own assets down. If I pull it from Social Security, you have to remember that Social Security, at most, only 85% of it is subject to taxation. So now when I look at the numbers, I have to say, okay, how long is it going to take me to make up that loss of $100,000, not to even mention Social Security? So sometimes when we do the numbers, it may take somebody 12, 13, 15 years to make up that money that they forego in Social Security, not to mention they spent their own assets down, paid more taxes on it, and have less money to leave behind. So this is just like one quick example. I can give you, countless others. But when you talk about a Rubik's Cube, yeah, if you don't sit down and have somebody actually run a mock tax return for you, like what we do for our clients, showing you the advantages and disadvantages and educating you on this, so then you can make an intelligent decision as to what's best for you, you could be paying the piper later on at a much steeper price.
And that's really what we're talking about, is that everything in retirement is kind of tied together. The Rubik's Cube, you think about moving all those little boxes and squares and trying to get, each side all the same color. Well, you move one, it affects the other one. And that's kind of how this works out. Social Security, you take it at the wrong time, maybe it pushes you into a higher tax bracket. You take it at the wrong time, maybe it also makes your premiums for Medicare Premium Part B go up. I mean, you don't know until you really sit down with a retirement planning team like Safeguard Investment Advisor Group. And if you don't sit down with them, sit down with somebody that's actually working in the retirement world, because that's what we're talking about, making the right decisions for you in retirement. And really, it's about before you get into retirement. Not that Rick can't help you if you call him, hey, Rick, I retired last month. What do you think? Am I going to be okay? Well, you got to come in and talk about it, because he doesn't know from that statement, right? So it is about whomever they're sitting down with at Safeguard to try to help them create that big picture blueprint for you and your family. It's 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. There's no cost for this. There's no obligation. But if they give you some ideas and you're like, wow, I think I'd really like to work with you, it's got to be a good fit for you, but it's got to be a good fit for them as well. It's a two-way street, and it's a long-term relationship, because your retirement's going to last 20 or 30 years. So it's not, hey, give me that blueprint, Rick, and I'll talk to you later. I hope it all works out for you. Good luck. That's not how it works. No, that's not how it works at all, right?
And keep in mind, there's zero pressure at all. I mean, we don't expect to work with everybody that we see, obviously. But, our business is about establishing relationships, and that's what it truly is. And, we haven't been around for a little over 2 decades, because we're pressuring people into buying products. That's not what we do. We actually do planning. And that's the key thing where, I probably said this previously on other shows where, people will go to an advisor. He's just strictly looking at the investments, and any investment recommendation that they give you could have a positive or negative impact on your taxes, on your Social Security planning, on your pensions, your trust and will planning, and all the rest of it. So it's very important that we make sure that everything is all working together. It's more of that holistic approach that we apply. And if we can help you, we'll share that with you. And if we can't, we'll tell you as well. And maybe you have everything perfectly aligned. We'll say, hey, the way you got everything set up, everything's perfectly aligned. There's not much value we can add. You're good to go.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. You're getting a second opinion on where you are on that road to retirement. Really, for a lot of you, it might be a first opinion. You've never sat down with a retirement planning team like Safeguard. So great opportunity. Again, it's 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. Rick, since we're talking about Social Security, are there any common mistakes that you've seen people make with claiming Social Security benefits?
Oh, yes. Number one, like we talked about earlier, is whether, the age in which they pull it out. So again, there are calculations that can be done that can determine, hey, what's the sweet spot for you in pulling out Social Security? The other thing is we also have to think about survival benefits. One of the things that we look at is, should a person, especially a married couple, does it make sense for, let's say, for example, one of the spouses to claim spousal benefit on their spouse, or should they take their own Social Security? Should they let their own Social Security be delayed and then claim a spousal benefit? Because I guess the easiest way for me to explain this that people don't realize, or some people don't realize, is that if one spouse passes away, we lose a Social Security check. It's not like, if your husband's getting $3,000 a month, and let's say the wife is getting $2,000 a month, and now one spouse passes away, let's say the husband passes away, it's not like Social Security says, hey, listen, I know you're accustomed to getting $5,000 a month total in Social Security. We'll let you just keep that. No, we're going to lose the lower of the two. So that spouse will keep the $3,000, but they're going to lose $2,000 a month. So how do we make up that difference? And what's the most efficient way to handle shortfalls like that? And unfortunately, a lot of people that we see, again, doing planning in a vacuum, When they address it is when that spouse passes away, and now they're in a situation where sometimes they're in a bind, and maybe they have to downsize or sell the home, or they're in a pinch, and they're really stressed out because they don't know, how am I going to make up this shortfall. So there's a lot of scenarios that come into play.
So here's the deal, and we're talking about the Rubik's Cube, where everything is kind of interconnected. So we all had grandparents, right? So you think of Grandma really loved Grandpa. Grandpa gets sick. Grandma's going to do everything she can to make him as comfortable as possible towards the end, with no regard for her own self after he's passed away. So we don't want Grandma to have no money when he's passed away, right? So there's got to be a plan in place. So you're going to lose the lower of the two Social Securities when a spouse passes. You might lose some or all of a pension. And then, of course, you're going to be taxed as an individual rather than filing joint, right? Now you're single, so your taxes have gone up. So there's a lot of whammies besides the emotional effect of all of this. That's where the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group can really sit down with you and help you walk through this, especially when you're thinking clearly. You think of somebody with Alzheimer's, dementia. That's not the time to do planning, right? It's before all of that. Boy, holy cow, we're in great shape. We're 65. We're retiring. We can't wait to do all these bucket list items. And something happens to change all of that. These kind of things happen. You need a plan in place, and the team at Safeguard is here to help you. 800-700-1980, again, is the number. There's no cost for this. There's no obligation. 800-700-1980. So today we're taking the outlook of retirement like it's a Rubik's Cube. Everything is kind of tied together. We got more to get to, so stay with us. The Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera continues right after this.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Rick and Reed and Eddie started this company back in 2008. They're really all about you and your retirement. How can they make things better in the income side, investment side, tax side, healthcare side, long-term care, legacy, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare? It's all inside of the Big Picture Blueprint that the team will help you create for yourself, but they need to know your hopes and dreams and your bucket list things that you want to do. Are you going to travel? Are you going to spend time with the grandkids? What are you going to do? How are you going to spend time now that basically you have 6 Saturdays and a Sunday because you're retired? So how are you going to do that? That's the idea. The team at Safeguard is here as a retirement planning firm to help retirees. And certainly it starts as a pre-retiree because you don't really, they can help you after you retire, I'm sure, but it's much easier if they have a few years or 3 to 5 years leading into retirement to help put things all in the right place for you and your situation. It's 800-700-1980 is the number, no cost to chat with the team, 800-700-1980. And you can always find out more about Rick and the team just by going to the website safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. Today we're comparing retirement to the Rubik's Cube. Now, Rick was better than I because he could do 2 sides of the Rubik's Cube. I could maybe get one. And we've all seen the guys that can do it in like 30 seconds, the whole thing. I don't know how they do it. Pretty incredible. But there are a lot of decisions that you're going to make in retirement that impacts another area of retirement. So we started with Social Security, when and how to take it. Boy, there's a lot of ramifications there. Well, we also could start taking Social Security, Rick, and then we're 73, which is the Secure Act 2.0, new required minimum distribution age is 73 now. And then we start taking required minimum distributions, and all of a sudden we've created a tax torpedo, if you will. How can we keep from accidentally triggering higher taxes in retirement?
Well, I guess the easiest answer would be by planning early. What I mean by that is this. If we sit down with an individual and we understand what their income is currently, and we understand where their tax bracket is currently, we can run strategies and even run mock tax returns and let them know when the best time is to start drawing money out of those investments in the most tax efficient manner. So that way, when it does become your time that you are RMD age, we can maybe the RMDs will be less or maybe none at all. So the sooner we do our planning, the better it's going to be for you. However, let's face it, sometimes we get people that do procrastinate and they wait till It's actually RMD age to start their planning. So again, that's where we would just have to sit down with somebody, look at their overall situation, and see what areas we can leverage in their favor in order to minimize the taxation on those distributions.
And in talking to you, it seems to me that taxes are one of maybe the most overlooked parts of retirement. We don't really think about it, but yet we're in an IRA and 401k retirement world, and especially in the traditional side where they're all tax-deferred tools. Taxes are a big part of this. And I think a lot of people don't really think they have a lot of control over taxes. It's whatever Washington and the IRS says, that's what we do. You're saying planning, though, can really make a big difference in the amount of taxes we have to pay. We have to pay our fair share. We just don't need to pay extra.
No, absolutely. And can I just give you a simple example of it? So many people, again, when they're investing in a vacuum. And let's say we're analyzing your portfolio. And this is just a quick, simple example of just one area. And we're talking about with just regular money, let's say non-retirement dollars. And I look at the portfolio and I see that the manager is buying and selling each year. Let's just say the average mutual fund turnover ratio is 90%, which just means that, if there's 100 stocks in that portfolio, they're selling 90 of those stocks and buying a new 90 within 1 year. That's a 90% turnover ratio. If they sell 50, buy a new 50, that's a 50% turnover ratio within that year. Well, number one, if they're doing a lot of buying and selling within that portfolio, not to mention the extra fees and commissions, but if they're doing a lot of buying and selling within 1 year, now we're talking about short-term gains versus long-term gains. Now we're talking about paying anywhere from 30 to 50% higher in taxes just due to high turnover ratio in the portfolio, not to mention the extra fees and commissions on top of it. So this is just a quick, simple example of something that we look at when we're doing planning that can affect their taxes. Because remember, now if I'm paying, 30 to 50% more in taxes on my non-retirement investments, guess what it's going to do to, again, on that Rubik's Cube effect, affects the taxation of my Social Security, affects the taxation on, when I do my RMDs and all the rest of it. So again, that's just a simple example of where, it comes into play.
So, to me, it seems like a great reason to chat with the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, especially in areas that you don't really understand. Why not sit down with a retirement planning firm that is here to help you, and there's no cost to sit down and chat with them about some of the questions, concerns you may have. 800-700-1980, again, is the number, no cost for this, 800-700-1980. So when it goes to me, one of the hardest things, and I'm 63, Rick, so in theory, I'm getting closer and closer to retirement. But to me, one of the challenges is what money do I pull from where the first year, 2, 5, 7, and then the next 5 years, the next 5 years. I mean, the money we pull out has a big effect on how much taxes we're going to have to pay, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. So when we design plans, we're going to look at, hey, what are the different buckets of money you have? You're going to have X amount in retirement dollars. Maybe you have X amount in non-retirement dollars. We call it non-qualified dollars. You have X amount in different buckets, and Roth, whatever it is. And we can actually design a formula saying, hey, if you need X amount of income, rather than just pulling it willy-nilly out of different accounts, why not use a formula, and we can determine what percentages should be pulled from where in order not only to minimize the taxation on your investments, but also minimize taxation on your Social Security and pensions and all the rest of it. So again, there's a way to do it efficiently. Unfortunately, a lot of people out there are just kind of winging it or doing it willy-nilly.
And since 2009, they were really good in their 401k. Boy, I did a great job with my investments. They were really good by 2020. And that's part of the problem is you don't know what's going on. You're hoping that things will turn out right. I still think you should sit down with a team like Safeguard, especially when there's no cost for this. Maybe 45 minutes to an hour of your time to sit down with them. 800-700-1980. Rick, I'm sure there's a lot of missteps that people make with their retirement savings. It's, boy, I need X amount of money to be able to retire. What's my number? Everybody does have a number, but it's not necessarily a million. It might be way too much, might not be near enough. A lot of scenarios play out when you sit down with people, I imagine.
Oh, all the time. And really, it's going to be based upon the lifestyle you want when you do retire. I have some people that they want to travel. That's their goal. I have other people that, they just don't spend. And you know what? They really just want to spend more time with the grandkids. I got some that just, they want to play golf and they're good with that. So literally, if they sit down with somebody that knows what questions to ask, what to look out for, understand their goals, their objectives, what they're trying to accomplish down the road, then a game plan can be set for them. So that way we know, hey, here's where we need to be. Here's how much we need to save. Here's where Social Security is going to come in. Here's how we can position you. So that way, when you walk into retirement, there is no surprises. There is no surprises. You don't walk into retirement going, oh my gosh, you know what? There's just one area that I completely didn't realize or didn't factor in. I may have to now keep working another 2 or 3 years because I didn't factor this area in. We eliminate all the guesswork for you.
I like the sound of that. So you think about the big picture blueprint that Rick and you create together. It's not them just taking your numbers and saying, here's your plan, good luck to you, hope it works out. That's not how it plays out. It's a relationship for the next 20 or 30 years. But it talks about risk. Are you comfortable with this amount of risk? What if you lose 20%? Or what if you gain 20%? Does one of those change your lifestyle? Certainly the losing part might, the gaining may not, or it might be the other way around. But risk, taxes, fees, moving money into the Roth world and doing it the right way if it makes sense. Income planning is a big part of retirement planning, long-term care planning. Wealth strategies. That's what the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group they're here to do, is help you figure all of this out, give you some clarity into your retirement and where you are. 800-700-1980 again is the number. 800-700-1980. There's no cost, no obligation. 800-700-1980. Rick, any final thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? Anybody listening to the show right now, Mark, if they decide to call in right now, I'll be happy to offer them a 45-minute consultation, no cost. I'll leave their checkbooks and all that behind, and it'll be an opportunity where they can just, ask me any questions as a result of the show. Or maybe they have questions about topics we didn't even get a chance to talk about on this show. And then if they'd like, I can ask them some questions, get an idea of our overall situation. And I promise you that in that meeting, I can give you 2 ideas that will be able to enhance whatever it is that you've been able to accomplish. Just give me the opportunity. I guarantee I'll give you 2 ideas that will enhance what it is that you've been able to accomplish.
So again, that's 800-700-1980. So Rick, appreciate the time. A lot of great information. Thank you for being with us for the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Have a great week. We'll be back next week. Same time, same place. Have a great week.
Thanks again, Mark.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC, is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC. This radio show is a paid placement.